Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Nephew Business Banking, along with Denisha Boston Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand marketing and digital agency. And we're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview the top business leaders in the industry. Helping provide us with business empowerment today is our guest, Stu Levenberg. He's Director of Franchise Services at Kensington Company and Affiliates. Now, Stuart has been a business intermediary and franchise consultant for the Kensington Company, since 2005. His personal experience as a franchise worker and with years of transnational experience working with over 100 franchisors has given him the knowledge to help buyers and sellers build businesses, open them, and sell them. He's also a graduate of University of Cincinnati, and he lives on Long Island with his wife and 2 daughters near my world. So I got 3 daughters. Stu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you for having me.
Yes, no, my pleasure. So, tell me, how did you get started in the franchise world? Tell me a little bit about that.
I guess it sort of just found me. I graduated college. I went to University of Cincinnati, as you pointed out, and after graduating, wasn't ready to come back to Long Island, so I found a job in Ohio working for a multi-unit franchisee of Arthur Treacher Fish and Chips. So he had about 9 units.
Yum.
Yes, very yum. I miss those days, but now I got to watch the waistline.
Yes.
But that was, right after college, began working for a multi-unit owner, doing back office support in Ohio. Did not realize they were headquartered on Long Island. And after about 2 years, I was ready to come home and made a shift from working in the stores and helping somebody with the back office into their corporate office. They had one role open, and that was franchise sales. And I said, you know what? Let's give it a shot. And they gave me a shot. And 15 years later, still doing franchise sales and love it.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. That's excellent. Now, going to Kensington now, so how did you go from doing it in the corporate world to doing it with Kensington on Long Island?
Sure. Great question. So I was working in the corporate office for Arthur Treacher Fish and Chips, and basically I had one product to sell, food service.
Right.
And I'd be speaking to candidates, and my job is to really try and award franchises for the company. And sometimes I'd be speaking to a candidate that probably wasn't really a great fit for Arthur Treacher Fish and Chips or that brand. And that was really the end of the process for that. Or I'd be trying to bring the wrong person into a system, which is not what I was about.
Right.
So I reached out to the franchise attorney that did all the work for Arthur Treacher's, and I said, I love what I do. I love helping people get into a franchise. I don't know that this is the right environment for me or the end all. And actually the franchise attorney made the introduction to Ken Stein, the owner of Kensington Company. He said, Stu, you'd probably gel well with Ken. Good guy, good values. And basically, he had just invested into a franchise that sells franchises, just to open up your mind to how big the franchising world is. So I started working for Ken 15 years ago, and really, we have about 180 brands that we work with, so very different than just working for one franchisor, selling that one brand. I went really from a salesman into a consulting role where now we sit down with buyers and really try and match them up to that right franchise opportunity that fits their budget, goals, skills. So, yeah, Ken just needed a young guy that understood franchising, and it really just had the values that he has at Kensington.
Awesome. Now, and it kind of blew my mind the first time that I went to one of your lectures, just that there was that opportunity for someone who is considering getting into a business. And then, to me, I mean, it's just a great way for someone to really explore what's out there. So, I really thought that was pretty fantastic. In your words, what would be Kensington's differentiator in this area?
So Kensington, the big differentiator, A lot of things, starting with the intangibles, just our experience, integrity. We've got a great reputation. We're doing this close to 20 years. And again, we want to lead people to the right transaction. No is a great answer for us also. If it's not a fit, we're not trying to force it. But I'd say the biggest differentiator, the amount of services we offer. So a lot of people think of me as a franchise guy, and certainly I am. But Kensington, we're also a full-service business brokerage firm. We do business valuations. So franchising is certainly not for everybody. Some people would rather buy something up and running and established. And some people don't even know that they want to buy a franchise, just want some education and the ability to go make an informed decision. Is this the path I want to go down or not? So I think just the amount of different services we offer, from helping people buy established companies to find the right franchise. As you pointed out, we do a lot of lecturing and seminars, to just providing education. So there's no charge for our service. If anybody has interest, we offer free one-on-one sit-downs, and we talk. And in all honesty, a lot of those meetings and saying, hey, it just might not be the right time, the budget isn't there, the human capital, you might be needing to improve some of these skill sets. And often it is a great fit, and we try and find the right franchise for the right candidate.
Yeah. Now, it's also kind of interesting. I felt like 10 years ago in the banking world, I was running into a lot of people who, they left their jobs or they were laid off, and they, found themselves with a severance package, and they were going, I'm going to get into business. I love coffee, so I want to get a coffee shop. And I would talk to them, and they would not really have the right skill set to run a coffee shop, or when you talk about their interests and what they wanted to do, it didn't match up with what the demands would be if you owned a coffee shop. And I find that your advice kind of goes in that direction a little bit. Is that right?
100%. We meet with so many buyers that come in with just an emotional interest in a business. I love biking. I want to own a bike store. Well, do you realize that, they're really busy in the summer. They're really busy on the weekends. And that's when you do your own personal biking. Do you want to give up biking to sell bikes? Or same thing. Growing up, I loved food. I still do. I want to own a deli. I was going to name everything after all my favorite hockey players and have my own custom sandwiches. But that's the dream. The reality is you own a 7-day-a-week retail business with labor and inventory and beer and lottery and cash, and none of that is a fit for what I'm looking for in my life. Emotionally, I'm a better customer than an owner of a business like that. So many of our buyers come in with just emotional interest, and we get them into the logical. What are your skill sets? What are your budgets? What's going on in your life?
Yeah.
You got young kids, you probably shouldn't own a coffee shop. You just might want to be home at some point.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, and our guest today is Stuart Levenberg. He's the Director of Franchise Services at Kensington Company and Affiliates. Now, Stu, can you also tell us a little bit about some of the different franchises that you work with? Can you give us some examples?
Sure. And Ray, I guess today's a great example. We walked into the radio station, and the first person said, hey, you do franchising. Tell me about McDonald's. And I think that's what most people think about when they hear the word franchise. Big fast food restaurants, retail, gas stations, automotive. The reality is franchising is, it's just a business model, and it goes across all different industries, from cleaning services to painting franchises, business coaching. As I started off saying, we're really almost part of a franchise that sells franchises. So there's a huge range of franchising out there. And again, I think most people perceive it to be expensive, to be fast food restaurants. But when we sit down with our clients, again, a lot of them come in asking about food service, and we start, do you want a 7-day-a-week business? Do you want retail? Do you want inventory? Do you want labor? Often we hear no, 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 and no. And we say, what do you want? And we start building that business model. But again, 180 different brands that we work with, from junk removal to carpet cleaning to painting to senior care to that traditional fast food restaurant that most people think about.
Now, what franchise do you work with, or have you potentially going to work with, or have you worked with in the past, that was the most interesting, that you were like, wow, I had no idea that even was a business or a thing?
Yeah, so I'll tell you one of my favorite franchises happens to be a Long Island-based company called Fountain. They do health and wellness services. They sell.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, so they sell alkaline water. They do detox services. They sell vitamin supplements. And when I first met them, I knew nothing about any of this. And just I find it fascinating just because. You know, you turn on the news every day and you hear about toxins in the water and what's going on. So I just feel like it's a timely concept and just something of interest to me that I knew nothing about, and just learning all about water and detoxing. So that is just one that I find very interesting.
You become very educated, right, with all these different businesses.
My wife hates that franchise because I come home and I start throwing away all the snacks in the cabinet. I'm like, can't have this, can't feed this to the kids, get rid of this toothpaste, has fluoride. She's like, enough. So
no donuts, no.
Correct. So I love it, and but yeah, it's not for everybody, that's for sure.
Now, not only did you work for a franchise owner, and not only are you doing the franchise selling business, but you're also, you previously owned a franchise as well, correct?
That's correct. We had a Chocolate Works store for about 3 years.
Now, that doesn't go at the Fountain together at all.
Fountain and Chocolate Works are definitely
oil and water.
Definitely not a co-branded concept. One is selling the sugar, one is trying to educate you on how that might be a problem for you. So I did own a Chocolate Works for a few years. Great experience. And it was nice because I see what my clients go through. I certainly had the same emotional butterflies in my stomach, writing a check, signing a lease, building out a store. There were great days where I came home high-fiving, and there were frustrating days where just why do we do this? So, and that's the story of business ownership. Not every day is great, and certainly want more great days than bad days, but you got to be comfortable going with the ebb and flow, and did own a franchise, and only chalk it up as a great experience.
Yeah, and it's definitely a franchise that I've been into. I've been into the one in Belmore, and fantastic place. I was also in the one. There was one in Westbury, and even had a meeting room, which was really cool. I had business meetings in there, and they would take us then out to the Willy Wonka world where we'd make chocolate. And
yes, that was a big draw, and it was a great franchise. That emotional aspect of
yes.
It's a fun business, it's a fun environment, you're around kids, and for me, I just enjoy business, and the appeal for me in that business was going out there and trying to get corporate accounts. You know, if you came in as a customer, maybe you're going to spend $5 on some chocolate. Maybe you're going to a dinner party and you'll spend $50. But if I get you in your NEFCU hat and you're thinking about what thank yous you have or referrals, and I could get your holiday order, I mean, that's what we were going after, trying to get some of those bigger accounts.
Stuff. Yeah. And you have to be careful that when you're working there, that when you're making all that stuff, you don't eat it.
Yes.
Or all of it.
I'd rather a paycheck than taking the profits in chocolate. So you're correct. You got to be careful.
Now, take us through the process, because I'm sure that, for the person listening out there, they're going, all right, well, how do I know what to do, and who do I see, and how does that process work? So can you take us through that process? Somebody walks in the door, what happens?
Sure. So I only wish they walked through the door.
Or somebody's sent to you.
Yeah. So we go out there and often have to go find our candidates. And I make the joke, it's certainly not a joke, but I say we work with a lot of corporate America refugees. So
okay,
a lot of people coming out of corporate America, maybe 20 years in the banking industry or whatever it might be, downsized. And, a lot of times they're looking for another corporate career and just might not be able to find the opportunity they're looking for. So franchising becomes a very viable option.
Right.
So we provide free education where we sit down with our candidates one-on-one after they fill out a franchise assessment, and we talk to them about their budget, their skills, their must-haves, their deal breakers. I think so many people just want to start their search with a list of franchises, and I say that is the wrong list. The right list is, what are you comfortable with? What is your budget? Do you like managing employees? Do you like sales? Do you like marketing? Are you an operations person? Putting someone that's introverted into a sales business just might be a big challenge. Putting somebody sales-minded into an operations-driven business. They might be able to go sell the service, but now it comes time to producing and production and delivery, and they might struggle. So it's all about that right fit for the right person. So our process is have candidates fill out an assessment, sit down, have some open dialogue, and once we understand their goals, their budgets, their objectives, then we're able to go present opportunities. And so many people from the first to go, hey, what's a good franchise? They're all good, they're all bad. It's got to be the right fit. Putting me into a cleaning franchise, I just can't manage a large team of employees.
Right.
Great business, great industry. Absolutely, there's a need for that service, but I'm not the right owner. I can't manage a large team of employees. You put me in a sales and marketing business or invite me onto a radio show. Right. I love this. I'm charged up, and it's great. You put somebody introverted in my business, they might hate doing seminars or promoting themselves. So, again, for us, it's all about the right fit for the right buyer and helping people make informed decisions.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. Our guest today is Stuart Levenberg, Director of Franchise Services at Kensington Company and Affiliates. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I love this song. I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation, on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, and your guest today is Stuart Levenberg, Director of Franchise Services at Kensington Company and Affiliates. So, Stu, what are some of the challenges that you and Kensington face when you're working with people?
So, really, our business is solving challenges. If everything was perfect, I'm really not needed. So the challenge is every transaction is a little bit different, but they're all going to have challenges, whether it's, as you know, coming from banking, getting somebody financed, whether it's that they're buying a resale of a business and that there's customer concentration issues. So every transaction really just has its own unique challenges that need to be solved and addressed, whether, again, operational on the business, whether it's funding, whether it's the buyer's lack of understanding of financials and helping them find the right accountant to help them understand their due diligence. So we solve challenges. And again, we're selling a business now that there's lease challenges. They got to get a lease assignment. The buyer isn't as strong as the seller, so we got to get involved and help the buyer with his resume and present in the best way possible. And we'll even be at a meeting with a landlord if needed sometimes. So again, every transaction has different challenges, and again, that's why you need a professional that navigates this day in and day out. I wouldn't know how to solve the challenges in your industry, but clearly our business, we're doing this 20 years and have just seen it all.
Yeah, and it actually sounds like kind of part of the fun of it is that you're putting that all together and you become very knowledgeable in all these other areas, which is pretty fantastic and helpful to other businesses.
I love it, and the problem is you just never turn off from this business. I go out to a restaurant and I'm counting the wait staff and I'm peeking into the kitchen to see how many employees. I'm like, oh my God, they got too much labor. There's not enough customers here. This business is in trouble. And so again, it's when you love business, it's all around you. I see opportunity every day. I see businesses just crushing it and doing all the right things and getting my name and my email address and getting me into a database. And I see people that I spent 20 minutes talking to about their service and they don't get my name or email address and put me in the database, and I scratch my head. So again, I love business, and being at Kensington is a great place to be if you love business, because you're meeting awesome people. You're meeting people with incredible sophistication that have owned multiple businesses in their life. We meet people that have never owned a business before. They are so nervous about everything, and they really need safety rails to cross the bridge. So again, a lot of different people in our lives that we get to work with. But I will tell you, I've yet to have an easy transaction. There's always a challenge. There's always something to solve. And I do love that part of it.
Yeah, that part's fun. And it's like you said, yes, you see, when you're fully invested in it, you see business and opportunities everywhere. I often joke that I do my best deals over a barbecue.
Yeah, without a doubt. I do my best eating over a barbecue, but I do some good networking there, too. So,
now, you don't do all this by yourself, obviously. You have to be successful, you have to have a team. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the partners and the staff that you have at Kensington?
Sure. So I'll tell you one of the greatest thing about Kensington, and it's that intangible I spoke about. It's just the integrity and the people at Kensington. So I guess it really starts with the owner and the founder of Kensington Company, Ken Stein. He got into the business 20 years ago when looking to buy a business and just was uncomfortable with the brokers he was working with and what they were claiming the earnings were or the revenue was, and just kept being disappointed. Right. So his logic was, I want to buy a business. I don't like these brokers. Why not? Why pay retail when I could pay wholesale? Let me start a small business brokerage firm, and I'll bring integrity to the industry, and maybe I'll go eventually find a business that I want to buy. So the company started from very entrepreneurial roots. There's probably about a dozen brokers at Kensington. I think one of the most amazing things is just the longevity of the brokers here. I'm aware of other companies that have constant turnover. Right. It's the same faces. I mean, you've known me at Kensington probably 15 years at this point. So It's just a lot of consistency, and I'm just sort of racking my brain. I don't think there's a single broker at Kensington that has not had business ownership experience in the past. And that is the intangible. Again, it's till you understand the anxiety that a buyer has writing a check to buy that business or signing a lease, or the headaches they're dealing with, or being able to sympathize with a seller that's trying to get out. I mean, we meet people that, again, bought the wrong business. Their life might end up in divorce. They're not around for their spouse. They're not home. It's putting stress on the family. We take what we do very serious, and that's the people at Kensington. We have the experience. We've got just sympathy, and we've got the knowledge to really help people navigate it.
Yeah, and you also mentioned something here, the work-life balance. So what do you do to help keep motivated, and what do you do to kind of burn off steam?
What do I do to keep motivated? I've got a wife and 2 little girls. Yeah. So every time I see them, I got motivation to just make sure I'm providing for my family. So, and I got to be honest, whatever that saying is, if you do what you love, you've never worked a day in your life. I truly have passion for helping people. I have passion for business. So staying motivated at work is the easiest part. Blowing off steam, I will tell you, sometimes I joke that we eat a stress sandwich every single day for lunch at Kensington Company. We got buyers and sellers. Everything is a fire. Everything is urgent. I have deals that I want to see happen that have these challenges that we're discussing. So there's certainly stress, and the way I guess I de-stress would be my dog. I love the dog park. You can find me Saturday and Sunday morning every day at the dog park, and
nice.
I just and my kids, and I'd love to tell you I work out and I bench press 300 and let it out at the gym, but we know that's not the case.
Same here, my friend. No worries at all. And so what is it that brings people in? Because you mentioned, I mean, it's, of course, in any sales business, they don't just walk in the door. That's true. What do you do to bring people in the door?
So we do a lot of seminars. We do a lot of community outreach. Obviously, here today at Nassau Community College, once a quarter, I'm presenting at Jack Mandel's marketing class and entrepreneur class. So we go out there. We speak monthly at the Department of Labor. We work with outplacement centers. We're just networked with accountants, attorneys, bankers. After 20 years in the business, we've just built relationships. But again, it's a lot of public speaking. We go out Small Business Development Center, SCORE. There's some amazing resources out there to help people navigate getting into business, and when the right time presents itself, we're a trusted advisor and trusted resource to a lot of professionals, and we rely very heavily on referrals.
Yeah, and I can't stress that enough. It's when I talk to business owners, to live outside of that bubble is very important. You have to network. You have to create that wealth of resources. And it seems that you've, in the time that I've known you, you've certainly done an excellent job at that. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you.
No, my pleasure. One of the things that I also found very powerful with your lecture series is that you brought the franchisors to the front and center to the audience. Now, how does that work? How do you wind up doing that? And what type of lectures do you have coming up that might be providing that to people?
Sure. So we actually do two different types of lectures. One is just completely educational, myself and an audience, and educating on franchising and business ownership and what mistakes to avoid and how to really build a business model and find something that's a fit. So one type is just educational. Then we also put on what we call Meet the Franchisor.
Right. I was trying to think of what it was called, and that was it. Yes.
So people love that. Generally, we could have a few hundred people at those events, and we'll invite anywhere from 5 franchisors to 10 franchisors to come in. They each, I call it Shark Tank. They each pitch their brand for about 10 minutes, high-level overview, not enough to ever make an informed decision, but enough to know, wow, that's pretty interesting. I'd like to learn more. So the guests love that because it's a great way to sit back. We feed you, and you hear 10 presentations on 10 different businesses. And most times we try and get a diverse group of franchisors. Some might be brick and mortar and have a $1 million price tag to get in. Some are going to be home-based that might have a $50,000 price tag to get in. So we try and just show everyone the diversity of franchising, what's out there, that you have these major companies with hundreds of units, and you got startup franchisors that maybe have 20 franchisees. And the great thing about what I do, again, it's matchmaking. Some person has zero interest in looking at a franchisor that has 20 units, and the next person's going to be so charged by that and to get in early and be able to go make a mark on the system. And the next person, they want that 1,000-plus unit franchise. They have limited risk tolerance. They want this big, proven, machine-like concept. And fantastic, we have that too. So, again, it's...
yeah. Those events, to me, those are great because you really do get to demystify the whole franchise, the whole thing.
And there's so many myths out there about franchising, that it's expensive, that I need a ton of money, that it's fast food. And certainly there are expensive fast food franchises. But again, the majority of my candidates really aren't looking to write checks of that size. I sort of joke, you either need human capital or financial capital. And most times you need a combination of both. Right. But we're dealing with a lot of candidates that have human capital. If you have human capital, you could get into a good service franchise. Again, keep the cost low, but now you don't have the benefit of that brick and mortar retail location. You got to go out there and market and network and look for referrals and promote yourself. And if you have that skill set, you could get into business for a lot less money. If you're missing that skill set, you got to build that brick and mortar retail store and wait for the customer to come to you.
Yep. Great advice. Now, how can someone find you? What's your website and your phone number?
So the website is kensingtoncompany.com. That's KENSINGTON company.com. The phone number is 516-626-2211. And
excellent. Stu, thank you very much for joining us today.
Ray, it was absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me in the studio.
You got it. My pleasure. Aim for the moon. If you miss, you may hit a star. W. Clement Stone. That's DB's philosophy for today. Thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, your co-host and producers. The creative director of Tower Talk Business Radio is Rudy Breedy. This is an NCC Foundation Business Leaders Council production. Visit ncc.edu/WHPC for more information. Available on iHeartRadio as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcast, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. We'll talk with you next week.